and welcome to the Garage with Bonesaw. Today we're looking at the German Tier 6 premium tank destroyer, the Dicke-Max. Now, the Dicke-Max is a very potent Tier 6 tank destroyer. And it's no surprise because Germany in the war had quite a number of very powerful tank destroyers, and Germany has quite a number of premium tank destroyers from Tier 6 through to Tier 8 in World of Tanks. Now, just a little bit of history on the Dicke-Max. It was designed in the early 1940s as a, and I hope I'm saying this right, my German's not very good, Schadenbrecher, which means bunker buster. It's essentially designed to take out fortified positions with this 10.5 centimeter K18 L52 gun. However, France was overtaken in 1940, and the need for a bunker buster was greatly reduced, so they decided to redesignate it as a heavy tank destroyer. Now, in real life, these things did see service, I believe both on the Western and Eastern Front. Several prototypes were made and they were formed into a unit which was deployed in combat, although not much is known about what actually happened to the vehicles after the war, if they were destroyed, if they were captured. The trail kind of goes cold. However, in real life, the Dicke-Max was a bit of a hit and miss tank. It wasn't 100% effective in the field, mainly because this gun kicked up so much dust when it fired that you couldn't actually see if you'd hit the target or not to correct your fire. They did, however, find some success operating in pairs where one vehicle would spot for the other to correct fire, and also using this gun in an indirect fire role as a light artillery piece. However, in World of Tanks, you don't have that issue with the dust cloud, and it's an incredibly effective Tier 6 tank destroyer. Now, in terms of playstyle, it's closer to the Stug 3 or Jagdpanzer IV than, say, the Hetzer, because it's not very heavily armoured. It only has 50mm of frontal hull armour, although this section is very well sloped. The casemate is even thinner than 50mm. I believe it's closer to 15mm thick. And it has 20mm of side and rear armour, so most of the enemy tanks at your tier will be able to penetrate you. You can get some lucky bounces, however, off this sloped surfaces. However, the Dicke-Max does possess a 620m signal range and a 400m view range. It's also quite stealthy, because it's roughly the same size as a Panzer IV. It's not a huge tank destroyer by any standard at Tier 6, so it is quite easy to hide this tank. Furthermore, one of the big traits of the Dicke-Max is it has tremendous gun depression on this cannon. As you can see, there's a lot of gap under the mantlet here, and it can depress almost fully in line with that frontal plate. It also has some decent elevation as well. Now, what this allows you to do is find essentially any area with a slope or a ridge, bumps in the ground, anything like that, defilades. You can park in that and just have the very top section of your tank, kind of that sort of area peeking over with the gun pointed at the enemy, and it makes you a very hard target to fire at it in return. And this 105mm gun is incredibly powerful. Now, contrary to what most people would think when it comes to 105mm guns, this isn't a derp gun. It's an anti-tank gun. High explosive shells, not particularly useful on this thing. Only 40 to 60mm of penetration. Sure, the damage is alright, but they're nothing amazing. What you really want is the AP rounds. The AP rounds have up to 211mm of penetration on a good day. The average is something around 169. 169 with a 300 average damage and 0.36 accuracy, which is pretty good for a 105mm gun. The rate of fire is also not too bad. Granted, I have increased mine with a highly skilled crew as well as a gun rammer. In combination with that view range, you can really hide in the backfield behind the front line of your team and just pick off enemies from a distance. This tank does only have about 550 hit points, and with that light armor it will disappear very quickly. It's also an open-topped vehicle, so getting hit by artillery is a very bad idea. So generally you want to keep yourself concealed and behind cover most of the time. The gun arc is okay. It's not huge, but it's still enough to be able to cover your frontal arc. The tank also does traverse acceptably at 35. It's not tremendously maneuverable, however, and it's also kind of slow. It will feel very sluggish when you drive it, but that's only natural because the Dicamax in real life, the chassis was overloaded. The gun was too heavy for the chassis of the tank. Great upgrades are binocular telescope. You already have 400 meters of view range, and you'll increase your view range substantially, meaning you can generally see most enemies before they'll be able to see you, especially if you're hiding behind bushes. Camouflage net is also great. Allows you to very easily hide yourself and give you that real cover advantage over your opponents. I have a gun rammer mounted. Gun rammer is also a good item on this tank for increasing your rate of fire. It's not 100% essential, but it's still very useful. The gun laying drive is also a good choice. However, the gun still does aim very quickly for such a large gun. It has a 2.3 aim time, but that's acceptable, especially seeing as you will generally be camping it up with the Dicamax. Toolbox I would also potentially recommend, as losing your tracks or any other modules in this tank can be a problem. Spall liner is another one. Don't bother with it. It's an open-top vehicle. Spall liner really won't help. Some people prefer to play a more aggressive style in this tank and use the coated optics instead of the binoculars, as it allows greater mobility. And the wet ammo rack and CO2 fuel tanks also are not really that useful. Generally speaking, if you're on fire or if you get ammo racked, you won't survive in this tank anyway. Once again, also torsion bars, not really a useful upgrade. Strangely enough, despite the fact that this tank is built on a Panzer IV, it's actually built on a hybrid. It's the Panzer 3-on-4 chassis. It's the Geschutzwagen chassis, same as the Hummel. But surprisingly, it can't use additional grouses for increased mobility. Overall, this tank is a very, very accurate sniper, comparative to the amount of damage it can deal, and it is very dominant at tier 6. You just have to make sure that you don't take hits and you stay hidden. You can very easily pick up a substantial amount of damage and several top guns in this tank without too much difficulty. Its fantastic gun depression really allows you to dominate on rough ground, especially compared to opponents who may not have that capacity to retaliate, and really gives it a very effective niche that it can fill within any battle, and both in the German tech tree itself. So here we are on airfield with the German Tier 6 tank destroyer, the Dicamax. Now, something of concern, our Grill has just announced his intentions to do what he referred to as a YOLO run. So, unfortunately, our only artillery piece will be charging straight at the enemy as soon as it pretty much gets the chance. Which, considering the effectiveness of the Grill, is a bit of a loss, but, you know, the stupid ones always die first, so hopefully he's not too much of a loss to our team. Fegelein is also in his Dicamax, just setting up in this bush here. I'm going to move slightly further forward, and we're going to try and cover this choke point over on the left near the ocean. So, you know, tank destroyers by the sea. What better way to spend your weekend? Alright, I've got my binoculars and camo net up, and we've spotted a tank destroyer. That, in fact, is a Hetzer. Unfortunately, I do not have line of sight to him. He's just that little bit too far away. So I'm going to move a little bit further forward to try and get some eyes over here. Conceal myself as much as I can behind this rock embankment. The Dicamax does not have huge amounts of armor, so you really do need to conceal yourself as best as you can behind as much cover and concealment as you can. It does, however, have a very good view range and pretty good camouflage rating, which I've augmented with my binoculars and with the camouflage net and camouflage scheme. Although granted, I did put the camouflage on simply because it made the Dicamax look pretty. Alrighty, we've got another tank destroyer coming down here. It's Su-100. Unfortunately, I do not have a shot at him, so I'm going to continue waiting, because where there's one tank destroyer, there's more than likely going to be some more tanks. Taking a wild pot shot at that Hetzer. I don't believe I hit, but it's good for him to know that he's got someone shooting at him. Alright, Fegelein takes a hit there. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything spotting for us, which is a bit of a problem. However, a KV-1 has now made itself apparent, and Fegelein puts a big hit into that Su-100 before getting taken out by the KV with the 122mm howitzer. In revenge, I'll put a big hit through the KV's turret, taking off more than half of his health. The support from those heavy tanks will take him down to slightly lower than that. Notice the heavy tanks creeping over the hill, so I'll try and dial in on this enemy KV. Unfortunately, he's moving a little bit too fast and gets off the ledge before I have a shot at him. So instead I'm going to go after that TOG. Now that TOG is on 91% health at the moment. That TOG has around 1400 hit points. It's a lot of health. So 80%, and now for the miracle shot. Bam! Right in the ammo rack, 1119 damage. I just killed a TOG in a single shot. Alright. Now I'm going to go over here and get into a hold down position on the side of this rock. You can see how good the gun depression on the Dicamax is. So I'll finish off that KV. He no longer deserved to live, having killed Oberst Fegelein, and also by the general fact that he was in fact a KV-1. All KV-1s must die. Alright, take a mild hit there from the Churchill 1, followed up by a bigger one from that Somyo South 40. I do think he is packing the 105mm gun, and I'm on 21 health, which isn't very good, so I'm going to try and take it cautious here. Pack up behind these rocks and just avoid enemy fire. Alrighty, see if I can get a shot on some of the tanks coming around the corner. There is a light tank up there, and I'm concerned that he will put some fire into me. However, he's just been taken out, and it was only an AMX-40. Alright, so I don't have a shot on the Churchill or the South 40, so I'm going to move around to this concealment here. Finish off the Churchill. Nice 201 damage hit there. As you can see, the gun on the Dicamax is extremely effective. It's accurate, it's hard hitting, and has a good turn of penetration to it. It also reloads quite fast. Alright, finish off this KV. For my second KV kill of the game. All KVs must die. And just pulling back to avoid any retaliatory fire from those tank destroyers. One of the great things about the Dicamax is that its gun does aim very fast for such a large gun. Alright. Put a shot into the Su-100. Unfortunately, all I do is a critical hit. Turns out I actually took out his ammo rack, but unfortunately did not detonate. I still do not want to get shot by him, so I'm going to come out for a second attempt at getting a shot, but I'm going to come out from the other side of the rocks just in case he knows where I am. Unfortunately, I can't get a shot past this BDR hull. 262 damage hit there, and our Wolverine finishes him off. And that's pretty much that game for us. We'll kill their remaining T-34 and Grill in short order. But that's the devastating firepower of the Dicamax.